Now, if you're preparing to get married and you're just about getting married, you have to watch this. Now, let's picture this together. You're already in love. You are ready to get on this journey. Your wedding date is set and you just can't wait to start your forever with this special person. You can't wait. You have it all documented and you're just about to say, I do. But here's a crazy fact that you have to know. Nearly half of marriages don't make it. And no matter how untrue that sounds, it's the truth. And do you know why? It's because a lot of couples like you and me walk directly straight on into marriage without being prepared for what's coming. No faintest idea of what's coming ahead. So let's talk about this real talk that sometimes we don't know about. Talk about this real stuff that you need to know. And trust me, no matter how much you've heard about it, it's never too much. What about these things that you really need to say, or you really need to do, or you really need to know before you say, I do? Marriage is a big deal. I think it's like signing a life sentence. It's a big deal. It's bigger than the wedding. It's bigger than any plans you've had about your marriage, or it's bigger than the love story. It's bigger than the cute posts that you see on Instagram about. It's bigger than the love stories you see that you so admire. It's real life. It's life. It's deciding how your life would go. And too many people go into it thinking that love is enough. I feel like screaming that love is not enough. Love is not enough to make marriage work. Trust me, it's not enough. I usually say it's not enough. Love is not enough to make marriage work. And I've seen couples go from happily ever after to, how did we even get here? Sometimes they have to ask yourself, what was I thinking when I said I do to you? Because possibly, maybe they didn't have that right conversations before they got married. You would want to check your boxes to be sure you're having those right conversations before you get married. So today, let's break it down. I'll try to be as fast as possible or summarize it, knowing what do we really need to know before you take that huge step, before you say I do to your spouse, before you make that big promise to say I do. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Let's talk about it. I feel we should clear up some myths about marriage that get people really into trouble. The first one is the myth of marriage will fix our issues. No, it won't. If you're fighting about things when you were dating, if you're fighting about quarreling about issues with your partner while you're still dating, while you're still courting, marriage is going to make it bigger. Marriage is going to magnify it. Another one is this myth that says love will carry us through. Love doesn't carry any marriage through. Trust me, love is great. But in real life, life is going to test you. Crisis is going to come. There will be days when love alone will not be enough. You will need patience. You will need effort. You will need commitment. There are days where your love will be tested. Another myth is this myth that says we'll always be happy. Listen, even the best marriages have their tough times. They have rough patches. But I think the real question is, do you both know how to handle those rough patches? Do you both know how to navigate those rough patches? I know marriage will bring up things that we teach you, but are you ready to go through that time of learning? Are you teachable? Are you open to the things that marriage is going to bring along? Marriage is never going to stop constant arguments. There'll still be arguments in marriage. The fact that you are in love with your spouse or you are in love with this person you're going to get married with, it doesn't mean that you guys won't have rough arguments. You have tough arguments. There are times you'll be faced with tough decisions. You have to learn how to communicate properly, how to express yourself before tying the knots. And you wouldn't let that be you, that person that you'll be faced with a terrible argument that you won't be able to sort out. What are the things you have to talk about before tying the knot? What are the things? Well, just going to share a few. Like I always say, I'm not a counselor. I just share my experience and the little I know, and then come to the community and say, comment and tell us, what do you think? Let's go to the heart of it. What are the things you need to know before you get married? What can you afford not to know? What can you afford not to ignore before getting married? The first is communication. Like I said, communication. How did you handle disagreements before you got married? Do you actually listen to each other? Is it one person that has the say? Or do you wait for one person's turn to talk? Do you say everything that is in the other person's mind? Are you the talker of the relationship? Are you the silent one in the relationship? How do you manage communication even before you get married? A second is money, debt, finances, savings, spending habits. Are both of you on the same page? What's the spending habit of your partner? What's the saving habits of your partner? Who is a saver? Who is a spending? Because money fights can break a marriage. In fact, money can break a marriage. Money is a major part of marriage. Another one is values and beliefs. What matters most to you? What's your belief? What are your principles? What are your values? Do you want kids? How many kids would you want? What are the space? Sorry, that's my son. What's the space between the kids that you want to have? What role does faith, your Christian faith or whichever faith you believe in, what does it play in your lives? These things matter. Another decision or another thing you want to think about before you get married is your roles and responsibilities. Who does what? Who is going to be doing what? What if the jobs come and go? What if your partner lost their job? Who's going to take what? Is a person open to having the family to be taken care of by the other partner? You don't have to assume. You have to talk about it. Don't assume, well, that's what happens. If you don't say it, then it didn't happen. In my job, it's usually said that if you do not record it, if you do not document it, then it didn't happen. Well, in marriage, if you don't say it, don't assume. Don't assume, because the lessons you learn when you're talking about this before you get married is going to save you later. From so many couples I've spoken with, from so many friends I've spoken with, or that we've walked or that we've talked about things that resonates about marriage, the ones who win so much at marriage is not those ones that have the perfect love story. It's not those ones that are all mushy, loving up. I've seen that those that succeed in marriage are those ones that have had the hard conversations, that are real to themselves. They're not trying to please their partner. They're the ones that had those hard conversations, real conversations, especially before they got married. Here are a few things that I've learned in my short journey in marriage. The first one, don't assume. Don't assume that your partner thinks like you. In fact, your partner cannot think like you, should not think like you. Ask those tough questions. What if this happened? I remember asking my husband before we got married, I said, what if issue of infidelity arise? What do we do from each of us? We had to explain that. We had to explain, what if there is a loss of a loved one? What if there are tough questions? I know we may not agree on that, but what are those tough questions that you need to ask your partner? Don't be afraid to ask them. Ask them, what if this happens? Who does this? Another one I want to share is premarital counseling is one of the best investments you can make in that relationship of yours. I shot a recent video on whether or how premarital counseling can help even after you've got married. I'm going to link it up here or here. I think you should watch it. Marriage is beautiful, but it is work. If anybody tells you that marriage is not work, or that marriage is just easy, it's 50-50, I don't think the person is being really, really very practical to you or being very real. Marriage is an amazing journey. It's a beautiful journey, but it's not magic. It is not magic. It's a choice you make daily to love, a choice you make daily to forgive, to grow together. And that's why I hinge on intentionality. It won't just happen. If you want a strong marriage, You have to build it on purpose. You have to build it on intentionality. No marriage works on wishes. Before you say, I do, make sure you are ready for what's ahead. Make sure you are one step ahead of what's going to come. Not just the wedding day. The wedding day is the faintest, I think, is the faintest figure of the whole of marriage. Life comes after the wedding. The wedding is just, I don't think it's anything compared to what you have ahead of marriage. I feel every day I stay in my marriage, it makes me to think that, oh, marriage is such a huge part of your life that if you get it wrong, it affects every other part of you. It affects your life, your career, your family, your esteem, a lot. I think if we see it as serious as it is, then we would be more conscious about making that step, about what we do, about who we make that decision with. I hope this helped in any way. Please, if you're watching this video and there's something you want to drop for someone who is single, for someone who is yet to tie the knot, for someone who is yet to say I do, or something you have thought about in your marriage that have a lesson you've learned. Now I'm talking to the married people here in this community. If you're watching this video, a lesson you want to share even in your marriage, pop it up on the comments. I'd like to learn from it too, and I will see you on that next video.